Finally, a stimulus is reached. As a third couple now confirms they also had relations while watching my videos. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. This is Evenings LALATE, and I want you to get really comfortable because we're going to be delivering some really stimulating, fascinating news about direct deposits, stimulus checks, stimulus packages. And, I want you to understand that this relief will be coming to you very soon. So, if you do have any children, please name them after me. This is Evenings LALATE. And I'm not kidding. One viewer said, I love your jokes of your opening number. Well, that's actually not a joke. That was actually facts. We're now on to the third couple. But, the evening's early. This is Evenings LALATE, which delivers information about checks and stimulus, and we're going to be doing a 1-hour special tonight. Thank you for tuning in our 1-hour programming block that starts every night at 6:45 and then goes to tonight, an additional special. Coming up right after this video is a big special that will talk about why the HEROES Act and the HEALS Act were actually both heels and not successful bills at doing what they proposed to do, and why they will likely get gutted as we go into the month of September. Boy, you got to tune into that one. But let me get right to the details about this video. Stimulus checks, big, exciting, great news just in the last few hours, and I don't refer to the third couple. I'm referring to a couple of details. First, Mitch McConnell coming out again and talking in favor of stimulus checks. Second, I'm adoring this article that goes into the calculations of the differences between the negotiation points of Meadows and the Temple of Doom. The president on Thursday offered $1.3 trillion, which is an incredible offer, and the Temple of Doom said we're still at 2.2. This article says that she doesn't need the money she's allocating based upon a calculation of Moody's Analytics. Oh, you're going to love this article. I adore it. And then right after that, I'm going over yet another shady article that says perhaps Meadows is to blame for no stimulus being reached just yet. Boy, a lot of great stuff. Let's get first to the details. The broad, important details tonight is a stimulus package is going to be reached and going to be landing in your bank account in the next couple of weeks. The stimulus package amounts and the stimulus check amounts are no different than what we've been reporting on this channel. It's likely to still be $1,200 landing in your bank accounts of every single individual, $2,400 if you're a married couple, $1,200 if you're dependent, adult dependent, or minor dependent. Family of 5, to $1,200 up to 5 individual, $6,000. And there's two sort of items that still remain a little bit of confusion and lack of clarity. Is the adult dependence. It's likely to still be at $1,200, not what the Republicans propose at $500. And if you're on child support, then it's likely to not be taken out for child support by the check, but that does not prevent you from trying to get the check in a local jurisdiction like a courthouse. All right, so that's the great news. Second item of great news is that the funds will land in your bank account very quickly, by about 10 days after approval by law. If you are on SSDI, SSI, Social Security, and Railroad benefits, it will come by the manner in which you receive your benefits. So if you receive them electronically, you're ramped up to get it that fast. If you receive them by paper check, then a few days thereafter. Next, FPUC has incredibly great news just in the last hour. I mean, I'm just shocked. One viewer who's so incredibly kind said, hey, I want to get this in front of you so you see it right away. I believe she's in Arizona. 5 weeks of LWA. I'm shocked. I mean, we had been talking about 4 weeks in Arizona, 3 weeks, 2 weeks initially under FPUC, under LWA when FEMA first announced it. Now states are paying 5 weeks of LWA. It's really unclear what's going on. It's very unclear why FEMA's calculations were so strange, why states gave different clarity. This viewer reported that she was simply shocked. She was shocked and delightfully shocked with incredibly great news when she looked and saw 5 weeks of LWA. What were the 5 weeks? They were retroactively back to the first week at which FPUC 1.0 expired. So tonight she has in her bank account 5 weeks of LWA. This is incredibly great news. Now, I don't know if this is going to happen in other states, but it sort of runs contrary to everything we had heard from FEMA. Let me recap just briefly. FEMA initially said 3 weeks for the first few states that got approved, Arizona, Missouri, things like that. Then they said everyone else maybe $200. We just don't have enough funds. Second, after FEMA said we're going to run out of funds in September. Third, FEMA said, okay, the other states that came in, we may have 2 weeks for you. Then FEMA said we will have 3 weeks from you. Then they said, okay, we'll definitely have 3 weeks for everyone, and we may have 4 weeks for the first few states, Arizona, Missouri. Now, tonight, 5 weeks. It remains unclear why this is happening, but it's likely because certain states have not applied and are not in the system, and FEMA may have more money to allocate quicker and faster. So incredibly great news. FPUC also incredible great news that it's going to get approved. It's going to land at about $400 a week to $500 a week. It's not going to be $600 a week. I detailed that earlier today. Red eviction moratorium is going to happen. Mortgage forbearance is going to happen. Hazard pay is likely going to happen. And so all that and more. Now that you know the general scope of what's going on, there's the path. And I detailed that last night. I'll just do it very quickly for you. The path is going to be through the Senate, not through the Temple of Doom, not through the House of Horrors. That's a new one. The House of Horrors. It's going, no one likes bats flying. It's just, not very appealing. It's going to go to the nice place, the Senate. And because the Senate Democrats are really irate, they want to get this done. The Senate Republicans, Mitch McConnell, if you didn't watch Afternoons LA, he has literally been everywhere talking about stimulus checks, wants to get the stimulus checks, wants the stimulus checks to go out, wants to pay $600 of FPUC. He has become the cheerleader for the yes movement after being the negative nanny for, the month of March and, the month of May and June. All right, so let me get to some great new details minutes ago. This is additionally about stimulus, and this is stuff that my head is spinning when I'm looking at this. The first one is that the first one is the Temple of Doom, the House of Horror, the Purviewer, the Princess of Pettiness. Her numbers don't line up. Oh my goodness. A new report talks about the differences between Trump's offer last week of 1.3 trillion and her current number, which is somewhere at about 2.2 trillion. Let me give you the backdrop. Meadows told The Hill today, which is a publication, says, I had a conversation with the speaker, and even on her $2.2 trillion counter offer, she can't tell the American people nor me, what is that number? I have been saying this for 2 weeks. What the hell is the number? What is in the $2.2 trillion? It's not just stimulus checks. It's something else. Meadows added, I said, what does 2.2 trillion represent? You know what the response was? I'm not going to tell you. Let me fill in the blanks. That's not proper negotiations, nor is it anything to the American people to accept. Well, the report doesn't stop there with the Temple of Doom unable to explain what $2.2 trillion is. It then says aid to state and local governments represents $915 billion of the $3.4 trillion HEROES Act. In contrast, the Republicans offered $150 billion for state and local. Thus, this issue represents 767 of the $900 billion to divide. But here's the twist. Simply put, local and state government don't need $915 billion that the Temple of Doom has proposed, or anything close to the figure. This is not me talking. This is what the article says. How do they determine this? This is absolutely incredible. Moody's Analytics put the budget shortfall at about $500 billion. And that's not what state and local governments need now. It's their budget shortfall for the next 2 years. Even if the federal government covered the entire shortfall, it would close the gap at about $400 billion. An agreement just to cover next year's state and local government would narrow the gap even further. Such a deal would require both sides to compromise. What does this mean? It means that the Temple of Doom, the purveyor of pettiness, is trying to get a bailout not just of states this month, but for 2 years. That's the first thing. The second thing says, we all know how much money states need. And they don't need the $915 billion that she's proposing. Moreover, the enhanced offer by the president last week of $1.3 trillion covers the gap. So the reason why the woman with the bats and the dragons, the dragon lady, the reason why she's so ramped up and unhappy is because everyone's calling her caper on her numbers. They don't line up. They simply don't line up. And that by raising the offer to $1.3 trillion, there's nothing left that's unpaid for state and local. That's the first part of the great news tonight. The second part of the interesting news is more shadiness towards Market Meadows is coming across the board now. Is someone leaking these stories to the same publication about Market Meadows? Do you think it may be? I don't know. They're very petty, but they're very interesting as well. A new article out today says that very few Democrats deal with Mark Meadows. They just saw him as a bomb thrower with no responsibilities. Who do you think is the source for this article? Oh my God. Most Democrats believe Meadows is the problem of why the stimulus package agreement has not been reached, says a Democratic aide. I wonder whose office the Democratic aide works for. He spent all of his time in the House fighting these type of deals and never has passed a resolution. Back then it was okay because he didn't have to lead or be responsible. Okay, that's... we sort of know which aide wrote this, was the source for this article. I think he's struggling with his new role, says the aide. Wow. Of course, they had to bring in a Democrat by the name of Gary Connellan to really sort of, dig a little bit more. But here's what's interesting as we sit here tonight is that while the aide wants to give a dig at Meadows, it's very easy to do a dig at the purveyor of pettiness, because what happened in the first stimulus package was there was no less than dozens and dozens and dozens of people negotiating the first stimulus package and looking at each respective number. They had congressional budget officials. They had House Appropriations people. They had House and Senate committee members. They had Senate finance people. Everyone in the Senate and the House was looking at the numbers and figuring out, does this number make sense? Does this number make sense? Are we giving too much for here? Are we giving too little for there? This time around, one woman wants to say she is the determining factor and the only person who can tell you whether or not that is the correct amount of money for everything. But when you ask her how about that particular item, she won't answer the question. It's that reason that we have the current path, which is incredibly great news, going into the Senate. The Senate Democrats, the Senate Republicans don't want to deal with that. The Senate Democrats and the Senate Republicans want to get this ramped up. They're concerned about the fall election. They're concerned about their livelihood. They're concerned about getting things done. Someone dropped in the comments yesterday, well, if it passes in the Senate, then what? Well, of course, it goes back to the Temple of Doom, but it doesn't have to go into the House of Horrors. It can just go to fellow Democrats who want to pass these things. If you don't recall, it's now been 2 weeks ago, there's close to 200 to 300 Democrats that don't want to deal with the Temple of Doom and want to get this done now. This is what's incredible great news. They want the stimulus checks to go out now. They want the unemployment benefits to go out now. They want all these things to go out now. And, guess what they're not talking about? None of these Democrats are talking about state and local or children going hungry. They're not talking about that. They're talking about stimulus checks, your stimulus checks landing in your bank account in September. They're talking about unemployment benefits, an extension of unemployment benefits landing in your bank account in September. They understand that despite the incredible great news about LWA tonight of 5 weeks, they understand LWA is going to run out. They understand people aren't going to get LWA. They understand some people are not getting LWA because of that $100 threshold. They understand this money needs to go now. That's what's incredible great news. So as we sit back here tonight, I want you to understand a couple things. One, there's going to be more of these inherently petty articles by aides trashing one side and trashing another. I want you to sort of ignore it. Second, I want you to ignore these really bad reports out there, like there was one in Forbes that they keep on cutting and pasting and republishing it every day, that says, oh, Republicans don't want to give you stimulus checks. Mitch McConnell doesn't want to give you stimulus checks. Totally untrue. What they're talking about was a draft of a bill that was not a finalized version that McConnell has never even talked himself about. He's never been interviewed and spoke about the draft. Rather, he has talked, what is it, half a dozen times in the last 24 hours saying stimulus checks, stimulus checks, stimulus checks have to go out, stimulus checks. The only thing he hasn't talked about is, $500 dependent versus $1,200 dependent child support. He hasn't talked about the detail of the thing, but he said stimulus checks have to go out. He said stimulus checks should be the same eligibility as the first round, as to, the threshold. He has talked about $600 as being FPUC. So there's a lot of really tacky reporting out there. It doesn't come with a nice voice to, enjoy while you're having a nice martini and turning on the fireplace and cuddling. It's, so just sort of ignore that for now. That's the first thing. The second thing is the next couple days is going to be very tumultuous. I had one viewer say, so are we going to have a deal tomorrow? No, you're not going to have a deal tomorrow. Nothing's happening tomorrow. See, Mnuchin will be talking to a House committee about stimulus tomorrow. That will be incredible great news. But there's no one voting on anything tomorrow. So people keep on saying, is there a check going out tomorrow? I hope there's a deal tomorrow. No, I mean, the way this is going to happen is it's going to go into the Senate when the Senate reconvenes, and it's going to maneuver through the Senate and get approved that way. One viewer had a very nice comment that said, hey, Hal, I saw someone on one of the broadcast channels, and they literally repeated verbatim what you reported about this starting in the Senate, that it's not going to deal with this crapola of the House. So thank you for that nice comment. Coming up after this video is really a blockbuster special that goes into why the heroes and why the HEALS Act really were the error of the second stimulus package and how they weren't good at all. No one has done this video until tonight, and so you gotta watch it, and it'll explain to you why come this September, Hero and HEALS will really not be in your mindset like it was over the last 2 months. Incredible details. Do me a couple of favors. First, subscribe to this channel. Go to the front of this channel, hit the subscribe and alert button. We're trying to reach 250,000. We're the first channel ever in the history of YouTube to reach 200,000 subscribers in, 3 months and a week? It's never been done. Ever been done. Last week we added 25,000 in 1 week. Our goal is to add 25,000 more in the next 2 weeks. I think we can do it, and to reach 250,000 subscribers in 2 weeks. So let's try to do it. Let's shoot for it. The other thing is like this video. Hit that. I don't know which way it goes. Does it go this way? Does it go that way? Hit that thumb. I mean, your hands might be busy in the bedroom. I can't believe I said that. But if you have a free hand, can you like the video? I appreciate that. I mean, you can touch it with the foot if you not that other thing. But yeah, like the video. However you want to press the button, you can press the button. And it helps the algorithm. It also helps clean the screen, but it helps the algorithm so that the videos go higher in the ranking. And when we all go higher, we do better. So, yeah, I think I'm done for today. Coming up is that special. As always, stay informed, stay smiling, stay laughing, stay focused, stay informed, and stay available for more.